Hey everybody, it's Brian for GadgetUnit.com, and it's time for another PC build video. In this video, I needed to replace a MacBook Pro that's been used as a home theater PC / network video recorder. It turns out the battery in it has been expanding quite a bit over who knows for how long. It's basically plugged into a TV 24/7, so we don't really check on it, but we did look at it recently and noticed it's bulging quite a bit. So needed something to replace it. A desktop makes far more sense for this type of thing. And because it didn't need to be that powerful, I went with a pretty affordable, straightforward build. Now the screenshot you're looking at are prices as of right now. When I bought everything, the grand total came to about $304. AMD is definitely an obvious choice for a lot of different applications these days, so I went with the Ryzen 3 2200G. It's a 4-core 4-thread processor with integrated Vega 8 graphics, plenty of horsepower for anything this will need to do. That will go into an ASRock A320M micro ATX motherboard, paired with 2x4 DIMMs of Crucial's Ballistics Sport LT DDR4 2666 MHz memory. It's not the fastest RAM around, but it should be fine for what this PC will do. The primary storage drive is a 120GB PNY CS900 SSD, SATA 3, not NVMe. Came in a little bit cheaper than an M.2 drive and should be just fine. I do have a 500GB Seagate Barracuda 3.5-inch drive lying around, so I'll be using that, and that's where any recorded footage from the network video cameras will be stored. Not on the SSD, obviously. The power supply is a Thermaltake Smart 500 watt 80 plus certified power supply. It's not 80 plus bronze, but it's close enough and should be fine for lightweight 24/7 operation. It's worth noting that everything in this list came from Amazon except for the power supply. I had originally ordered a 430 watt version of this Thermaltake Smart power supply from Amazon for $40 plus tax, but it was marked as delivered, but I couldn't find the package anywhere. Got impatient, so I found the 500 watt version for just a couple bucks more at Altex, a local regional micro center like place, although the prices on a lot of stuff is not really competitive, but power supplies were surprisingly affordable. Lastly, because this PC will not be hardwired into the network, I went with the Fenvi FV-8802 PCI Express Wi-Fi card. It also has built-in Bluetooth 4.2, not the newest version, but I likely won't be using Bluetooth in this anyway. It uses an Intel 8260 Wi-Fi card, and that is an overview of the parts. Now let's take a look at the build itself. Now we're taking a close-up of all the individual components. Now we're looking at the SSD, pretty basic 2.5-inch SSD. Haven't seen one of these in some time, but I did do some speed tests on this and it's plenty fast, all the way up to from smaller file chunks to larger ones. We're taking a look at the Crucial memory. White PCB with a white heat spreader looks pretty good. I kind of want to do a totally white inspired build someday. Definitely looks pretty nice. Nowadays RAM is either all black or all red with a load of RGB puke all over it. Now we're taking a look at the ASRock motherboard. This I think is the 4th motherboard from ASRock I've used this year. So far they've been fine. I used the X570M in my personal PC. I used the B450M in another PC that's coming up, video and raffle on that one soon, so stay tuned for it. Here's the board itself. The top slot is a 1X PCI Express slot. One below, beneath that is for larger graphics cards and other add-in cards. There is an M.2 slot up to PCI Express 3.0 X4. We have 4 SATA 3 ports. Here's what the back looks like. Fairly clean overall, pretty basic board. It's $55 bucks. Here we're taking a look at the Wi-Fi cards packaging. Nothing crazy here. There's pretty much unmarked cardboard inside. There's an orange heatsink on it, which looks kind of nice. For Bluetooth, it does require being plugged into the motherboard's USB 2.0 header, which works just fine. There's also a low profile bracket included. Here we're taking a look at the 2200G. I've used this in another build earlier this year, and it's a totally competent processor for a lot of different applications nowadays. Again, 4 cores, 4 threads, so no simultaneous multi-threading, but again, for what this PC should be doing, it is plenty fast, and it comes included with a heatsink fan. Now we're looking at the case, which I think I forgot to mention during the parts list overview earlier, but it's under 30 bucks. It has front USB Type A 3.0 and 2.0 ports, 4 total on the front, 2 fans, 1 intake, 1 exhaust. There are quite a few cutouts on the motherboard's mounting plate, if you will, that has room for cable management. The power supply is mounted up top, which means because there isn't top ventilation, the fan in the power supply will be mounted downwards. More on that. towards the latter part of the video, kind of taking another look at the inside of the case. Shaky camera, there is the front exhaust fan. Now we're taking a look at the power supply. It's again a 500 watt 80 plus model. It is non-modular, so all the cables are permanently fixed to the power supply. For this build, it saved a couple of bucks, and there's plenty of room inside to hide the cables. For the actual build, now we're putting the DIMMs in their slots. Both slots will be occupied because it's a 2x4 gig setup. And again, that RAM looks pretty good. There are some white accents on the motherboard, so it matches fairly well. Next up is putting the IO shield into the case, always quite sharp, and then putting the motherboard into the case. I should also mention that the parts came in across different days, so the processor came in afterwards, which is why it's not installed in this clip right here. So once the motherboard is in place, obviously you screw everything in, and then I went ahead and put in the front panel connectors. Those are always fun, but pretty straightforward as long as everything is plugged in properly the first time. Here I am plugging in the HD audio connector for the front panel, and I can't tell what I'm doing here. What in the world am I doing? I can't even tell what that was. Sliding in the 3.5-inch hard drive right now. There is room in this case for two 3.5-inch drives, and if you actually wanted to put more, you could probably find a way to securely fasten that to the upper portion of the case. There's also a spot for a 2.5-inch SSD. Pretty convenient. I did move the hard drive, as you can tell here, it's in a different spot. I moved it up so that the SATA cable is easier to plug in. Now we're looking at the Wi-Fi card installation. Pretty straightforward, just have to remove one of the PCI Express covers on the case, slot it in, screw everything in. Here I'm plugging in the USB 2.0 cable for the Bluetooth portion of the card. Finally got the processor in, so that is being installed now. The brackets that would normally be used for a clip style heatsink have to be removed so that this heatsink can be installed. Off camera, oh, that's the CPU fan connector being plugged in now. Off camera, I did take the shroud off and oriented the shroud so that the AMD logo is upright. Power supply was installed pretty quickly, as you can tell. Everything is plugged in too. I didn't bother recording those parts because it was just kind of a pain to have to move the camera around all the time to try and get better views of stuff. But as you can tell, the main area where the motherboard and processor and everything else is pretty clean and open. I made sure that the front intake fan isn't being blocked by too many cables. Going with a non-modular power supply is kind of tough, and pushing the power button for the first time, everything powered up without any problems. There are only two lights on this PC, the power button as you saw there, as well as a drive indicator up top, which I will show in a few moments as well. But yeah, everything turned on just fine on the first try, and now we're taking the plastic off of the side panel. So there's a piece of plastic on the inside here. Putting the main side panel back on, and here is the other piece of plastic being peeled off. I unfortunately took the audio out of the track too early. Oh, there's also a little piece there on the front. And there's the blue logo, or LED rather, for the power button. And there's the red LED for the drive activity indicator. Everything posted fine, as you can tell. Here's what the BIOS looks like. It's pretty much identical to everything else ASRock has been putting out lately. It came with BIOS version 3.30, but the latest is 3.70, so I opted to just update it to the latest and be done with it. Loading the RAM's XMP profile, saving the settings, and after that it's pretty much just installing Windows like you normally would. And I will say that afterwards, because this PC is being used for basic HTPC and network video recording requirements, all I had to install was Chrome and D-Link's DViewCam software to bring all the network video cameras in and do motion detection and all that. And everything works fine. The temperatures are under control, under 40 degrees, with just the video camera software in the background. And that's it with the video. As I mentioned earlier, there's another PC build coming out. I was going to have that out already, but the processor I'm using in that video took quite a while to become available in the US, but that particular PC will be raffled off for pretty low entry fees, so you might want to be on the lookout for that within the next couple of weeks. That's it with this video. If there are any questions, comments, or anything like that, feel free to leave them down below in the comments area, but that's it with the video. Thanks a lot for watching, and I'll talk to you all in the next one.